Welcome to another episode of the Church Things podcast, where we talk about church things. I have with me here today, once again, Tim with another Paisley shirt. And for the very first time, Joshua is on the podcast. I forgot to mention this in the last podcast, that we are recording this during Mustache March. And so if you watched that last one and you're thinking to yourself, what has happened to Tim? And now you're watching this one and you're thinking to yourself, what has happened to Joshua? You should actually be thinking to yourself, why isn't Blake shaving? That's what you should actually be thinking to yourself. So, but hey, today, as you guys can see in the title, we are going to be talking about, what do we think about online church? Do we like it? Do we not like it? How do we get to a place where we're all TV preachers? Are we going to get private jets soon? I don't think so on the latter.
It really doesn't depend on us or our desires.
That's true.
It really kind of depends on, when we hit the million podcaster mark.
We start saying this podcast is sponsored by.
Right.
Right now, it's not sponsored. So we're looking for sponsors if you're out there, if you're listening, if you're watching. Which that brings me to another point. If you're just listening to this, whether you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you might be listening, you're thinking to yourself, why is Blake mentioning that they have mustaches and that Tim's wearing Paisley shirts? It's because you can also be watching this on YouTube. And so you have the option to just listen or just watch. But back to what we're actually talking about today. We're talking about, what do we think about online church? And so, Tim, you're going to kick us off. Walk us through, how did we get here? How did this all start? Tell us a little bit about the timeline, because it's actually funny, because we're about at the year mark. Yeah. It's sometime in March, COVID hit, and we kind of started to shut down in our part of the country.
For us, it did start about a year ago. And what's interesting is, short answer is coronavirus thrust this upon us. The long answer is Joshua and I had been talking probably for 2 years, maybe longer, about what does it look like for us to live stream our service. And I'd love to tell you that I had completely pure motives in that, but it's just hard for me to go on vacation and not know exactly what's going on Sunday mornings, and always nervous about what I'm going to walk back in. What did Blake say the sermon? And Tim was out of town, or what song did Joshua sing that it was theologically weird, or and so
it was a Bethel song.
We've been talking about doing a live stream for several years, and when coronavirus hit, everything spun up so quickly. We went from what we're now referring as normal activity to completely online in a matter of about 10 days. Mm-hmm. And it really was, God just protected us more than anything. It was a Wednesday, I think, Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah, Wednesday.
And Joshua and I were talking. I said, man, I think this coronavirus thing is going to be bigger than what we understand, and we just really need to. What's it going to take for us to be able to live stream our services? And Joshua said, man, we're all set up except for one little doodad. We got one little widget that's we got to buy
more than just one thing.
Well,
it was actually quite a few things.
we were able to live stream, but we were missing one component that we didn't have, that we couldn't get, and Brandon.
So I would shout out. We got that.
Yeah, Brandon Emlaw.
Yeah. He called, I think, within a couple of hours of that meeting.
It was one of those really cool kind of God moments of, we were actually sitting in your office talking about it, discussing it, and then I get this text message from Brandon saying, hey, I've got this gear. I know it looks like the state of things might be moving in this direction, and so I got it if you need it. And then, of course, we're just kind of sitting there like,
just scratching our heads.
Was he listening?
Yeah. and so that was those were the missing components. And of course, the technology I don't get. All I know is that on Sunday morning you can turn on the Facebooks or the Googles and see our
hence you calling those things doodads and widgets.
Yeah,
that is a little telling, but yeah.
And so we beta tested from that Wednesday to Sunday, we beta tested. That was our last in-person meeting, and then the whole world shut down. And I mean, we're right at the 1 year anniversary to Flatten the Curve. I'm not sure how well we did with that, but we knew that we were going to be 13, 14 weeks at flattening the curve. And so, I mean, Joshua and his team get lots and lots of props because, I mean, he took it and ran with it. And so that first Sunday we beta tested, I think just Facebook.
I think we were able to actually get it on our website too that week, or
at least a link on the website.
I'm trying to remember exactly. We had so many iterations. It's hard to like really, really keep track of what all we did, but for sure Facebook. And it was just we had one camera and no text on the screen or anything like that.
Yeah. And basically then a week later, governor says, "Hey, we got to do this." And we were accidentally, really, but we were kind of on the cutting edge in the church world of, hey, we were able to go 100% virtual online. We changed the camera position. Joshua, stayed up late, studied hard, watched YouTube videos. I don't know what all he did, but figured out that not only can we live stream to Facebook, but we can also live stream on basically any platform, and bought the software and the tools. And I mean, he can get into the technical tall weeds there, but
I don't think we want to do that here.
No.
Joshua, how did you feel about going online initially? So like there was talk, you talked about it for so long that, and you had this picture in your head that, you were going to eventually start streaming our services, but it was going to be in a full room of people. And then, I mean, I remember the feeling of walking in church on a Sunday morning, and I was there till I think I was just hosting communion or something, and it felt like I was on a movie set. It felt like, okay, everybody's just kind of walking around. Like I got made fun of because I wore flip-flops that day because I knew my feet weren't going to be in the frame. But just how did you feel initially when you had to get those things up and going?
Yeah, it was. I mean, when Tim sent me that text on that Wednesday, my thought was, I mean, like, I don't know, like a couple months probably.
Yeah.
And then again, everything worked to where we were able to just get going with it. But there was definitely some excitement there because we had, like Tim said, we'd talked about it for so long. But then all kinds of nerves as far as, is this thing going to work? Is the internet going to hold up? There's so many factors with live streaming that just beyond plugging in a camera into a computer and pushing stream. And so there's a lot.
By the way, is what I thought needed to happen.
A lot of anxiety there.
Just record it. I can do it on my phone, man. I don't know what the big deal is.
Yeah,
some churches did do that during when the pandemic first hit. They just turned on an iPhone and said, "All right, let her rip."
Yeah, and I'm really proud of the product that we, and again, serendipity. I mean, God provided for us. The timing was right. The right people. The right. Some of the stuff that we were able to get on the front end and get it ordered, wound up 3 or 4 weeks later being out of stock across the country. Because there's thousands and thousands of churches doing the same thing we did, and it really does feel like we were half a step ahead of the curve, and we don't get to take credit for that. I mean, it just was. Man, all the pieces were in the right place, right time, and so I mean, I don't want that to sound arrogant, but it just was really.
We weren't quite ahead of that curve because that one piece that Brandon provided for us, we did end up using for like 2 or 3 months because I pressed take my money as soon as that thing started, but literally every website that I could find that one piece of gear on, it was on back order, and so I don't think we got that piece till probably after Easter.
Yeah.
So at least 2 months of that. And
the doodad, the doodad was on.
The doodad
was on back order on the widget website.
But we had a guy with the doodad and the widget.
Yeah.
And it was not on back order, and he was able to. So definitely props to. You asked the question, what did it feel like, or what was it like?
Yeah.
For me, the feeling, I don't know if you've gone inside Chick-fil-A since pandemic.
Yeah.
It's like all the tables are turned upside down, and you couldn't sit in there if you wanted to, but you can still go in and order food. And so functionally it's still operating as a Chick-fil-A, but the reality is you're not sitting in there as a Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what church felt like. That's kind of what our worship center felt like for about 3 months is functionally everything that you're seeing on the screen looked like Sunday morning church. But it felt a little different than what we normally do. I mean, I can remember, praise team was walking around during the sermon time and I was walking around during the praise time. And I remember looking at Braxton one day and I said, if we were a really charismatic church, it'd be a lot of this all the time. And this would be really distracting if there were 100 people doing this. And again, it's kind of what we talked about, why we're doing a podcast. It looking behind the scenes, man, there was just a lot of stuff going on. And it was cluttered, and it was, it was messy, and and I'm looking at this going, I'm out of control. I don't have any control on any of this. And then you look at the screen, and it's like, oh, we knew exactly what we were doing. And I think that a lot of things happen in the church world and spiritually that we put on a pretty good game face. Yeah. And then we are completely wholly dependent on the Lord and the Holy Spirit to show up and do something about it.
It's true.
So shout out to Buddy the dog.
Yep. He's going to be coming in and out of the shots. If you're watching, if you're just listening, you're going to be like, it sounds like there's a dog walking in the background.
The reality is he's probably bored.
That's true. All right. And that's why we're going to move on. So we went on a staff retreat in April, I believe. So shortly after we kind of entered into the world of online church. And this was obviously a big topic on that staff retreat. I could say we discussed it at length. I don't know if that'd be 100% honest. I think we argued it.
Discussion's really a benign, safe word.
Yeah. So Tim, at its core, what was our argument about?
We talked about what are the questions and what are the discussions. So, really, at its core, the conversation is what do we have to do to be church? And which is a great question for us to answer. What constitutes church? Is it just a couple of people meeting together? Is it a Bible study? Is it singing? Was it, what is it? Do we have to pass the plates? Do we have to take an offering? And so I think at its core, our debate, our discussion, and just so everybody's clear, mostly the other guys went to bed, and you and I stayed up till 2 o'clock in the morning, screaming angry words at each other about, how smart one another might or might not be. Yeah. But I think at its core, it was, what are the things that make up a functioning church, and can we do that in a virtual world? Yeah. And the reality is, I think where we got hung up, I think where all of us got hung up is how much of this, how much connection, how much live connection and live community has to take place, and can that even be accomplished in a virtual world? Yeah. And I think we all agree it cannot be accomplished in a 100% virtual world. Yeah. It must be, there's some combination of those things. So, I think that probably leads into the discussion.
Yeah. So it was more of a philosophy of ministry in a sense, discussion. We were discussing, I think part of it was we were looking eagerly into the future, thinking about what could this be? This could be great. We could see a lot of good things come from this, but at the same time, at least I was, I was more concerned than I was excited. Yeah. And Joshua and I talked about this on the retreat. We just kind of said, we're not the first people to do online church. We've seen, a lot of big name churches that we listen to their music, watch their preachers, do online church, have been doing it for a long time. And I don't know, A, if that's what we want to do, like for our, jobs, but B, I don't know if I like what that produces, and we were looking at it obviously, in April. And so, but Joshua, what were you thinking on staff retreat when we're having these, we've gotten through the technical issues up until that point. We've, it's up and running, but now we're talking about, okay, 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, what is this going to look like? What were you thinking?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we were all thinking, a couple months, this thing's going to be over. So,
yeah.
Just from my side of things, I'm thinking, cool. We now have this live streaming setup. It's not going to be the way things are forever, and so we'll get people back in the room. But this will be a great avenue for people to maybe find us for the first time, be able to visit without actually setting foot in our doors. Which, looking back, that's actually happened quite a bit, I think.
Yeah.
But I was pretty apprehensive to that being church, being the only way that we do church is online. And it was the reality at the time. And I think we did what we had to do. I'm glad that we've got people back in the room now.
I think part of the struggle too for us, at least in the dialogue that we were having, is we knew that we could do this.
Yeah.
We weren't sure this is who we wanted to be.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the who we want to be is really more defined, just at an organizational level, at an identity level, by our core values.
Yeah.
And one of our core values is community. And I think a big part of our conversation is could we create the community that is central?
Yeah.
Could we create that in a virtual world? Is it even possible for us to do life together in a way that was 100% virtual? And I think we still have that question. I think in the position you were in, it's no, we have to be able to physically see people. If we can't do life together, then we can't do community. And I don't want to be an avatar on a screen. And
I don't want to be a TV preacher.
Right. And for me, I'm looking at it going, hey, there's a new possibility here. There's a new avenue for reaching people. And technology, while I don't fully understand it as much as you guys do, just generationally, is this a way for us? Is this the wave of the future? Could we create community with somebody halfway across the world? And the two examples that we had, in our men's Bible study, we had a guy who, because we were doing some virtual stuff, had invited a brother in Louisiana and a brother in St. Louis, and they were attending. And they weren't just attending Friday morning men's Bible study; they were attending church together. And so they were all logging in at the same time. And through the miracle of technology, with just a little bit of a gap in where the voices were, they were watching the service. They were engaged in the worship together as a family, and it just kind of blew our mind with is this even a thing that would lead to the kind of community we see in Acts 2 and Acts 4, where they had everything in common.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I think we have a lot of cool stories like that now, even just a year down the road of people that got engaged with us because we were doing online church. And it's funny to think back then in March, just what we thought about. I think we'd done a total of like 3 Zoom meetings at that point, and now we're at, I think 300. We've all experienced what they call Zoom fatigue now,
the quote of the year was, "You're on mute."
Yes, exactly.
You're muted. So we've all experienced that frustration for sure.
Yeah. And so looking back, just over the last year, do you think some of our initial concerns were valid? Do you think some of them proved to be wrong? Do you, some of the things we were looking forward to, some of the positives, do you think, looking back at the last year?
I think the answer is yes across the board. And I also think the answer is no across the board. I think one of the things that we've done well to maintain the connectivity is in our small groups. Our leadership has been very, very proactive about making personal contacts and visits, within the scope of what we can do with pandemic stuff. And so it's kind of a both and, can we, I think where I would land is, can we do this 100% virtual? I think the answer is no, we couldn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There has to be some contact. There has to be some connection and relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a pretty incredible tool for us to connect with people?
Yeah.
In the first round, the answer is yes.
Yeah.
And so one of the cool stories, I mean, you guys know it, but I'll share with everybody else. I met a family a couple weeks ago that said, we've been here. I introduced myself, and they said, "Oh, we know who you are." And
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Oh, this happens all the time." "Oh man, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name. Maybe it's the mask." And they said, "Yeah, we've been coming to Central for 2 months." And I said, "Oh, I feel awful
Always a
about
good
that. I'm so
feeling.
sorry, So tell me your names, help me understand." And they said, "Oh, we've never been here before." And I said, "Well, what do you mean you've been coming to Central for 2 months and you've never been here?" And she said, "Well, we've connected online." And
Yeah.
I said, "Oh, you've connected, really?" And she said, "Oh, and that's Braxton, and that's Blake, and that's Joshua." And she knew who we all were. And
Yeah.
this was the very first time that they had ever been at Central. And and so they have since placed fellowship at Central, and the connection was online. And
Yeah.
and so they felt the community, in the virtual world, and then came in the real world.
Yeah. I think a way that I've thought about it is just, I think initially I was really concerned that where we were going to land was we were going to be an online church, which obviously at the time, we didn't know where we were going to land, as, a country. We didn't know if we were going to just be one of those movies about a, pandemic. But, and so looking back, it was like, oh, I don't want that to be the destination, But now looking back, it's like, oh, it was actually just a bridge, And so I think even going forward, we're not, winning people to our online service. You know what I'm saying? And so it's more of a bridge to get people plugged in. And I think that's still our concern, is that we would have people that don't want to plug in. They want to, and this isn't just an online church conversation. This is a
this
is a
happens all the
church.
time.
Exactly. Name an area of ministry or church, and we could talk about, well, we don't want our people to just come and watch or just spectate or just consume. We want our people to be bought in. We want our people to be serving, edifying, plugged in with other believers, But so looking forward, what do we? Oh, Tim didn't silence his phone. Wow, it's okay. First time on a podcast. I'm just kidding. Doesn't silence his phone. Brings his dog. Needless to say, Tim will not be a guest on episode 3. I'm just kidding.
This is our goal was to let people behind the curtain.
Yeah,
And
that's
to see
true.
how we function and operate as a
Behind
team.
the curtain,
And
Tim's phone's
Buddy
never on
wants to say
silent.
something.
Buddy, you have to speak directly into the mic. Yeah, so looking forward, after we've talked a lot about just what this last year's been like and what we've learned and what we think. Looking forward, what are we dreaming about? What are we hoping for? What do we think could become?
Yeah, and I think part of what we know is the church will never function the same. I mean,
Yeah.
At its core, our mission hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Our purpose hasn't changed, but how the church operates in the week in, week out.
Yeah.
We're probably never going to be what we were a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And one of the beautiful things about the church is that because the mission transcends all of those other things. We don't have any. We can continue in our mission. We don't have to operate this way or this. There is no there's no secret sauce or secret recipe for community and for doing life together. With that said, I think that we are always going to have a digital presence.
Yeah.
And the digital part of it's going to be a tool. How do we connect with people? How do we engage people? And the other thing about it is we live in such a transient culture that even those folks that say, man, I go to Central and I've been a part of Central for 20 years, long gone are the days where you're here Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, every time the doors are open, you're there filling your pew because we live in a transient culture. So many of our people travel for work. There's just so many things that we're doing, and we're such a busy culture. I think part of the tool here is that we'll be able to continue to engage people when they're not physically present.
Yeah.
So that they are still connected when they are physically present.
Yeah. Yeah. And just to back up a little bit what you're saying, Barna Group, the study group, or they're like a research group that polls Christians and churches and people in the U.S. They've put out 2 studies recently that have really, caught my attention and just made me think a lot about where we're at as a church and whatnot. The first shows us that church attendance has been on the decline since 93. Like we've dropped like 30% or something like that. So now we're at a place in the United States where it's like 1 in 4 people are a practicing Christian. So it's like church attendance was already on the decline. And then the pandemic came, and out of that 1/4 that was still a practicing Christian, 1/3 of those people stopped attending church at all. So that includes online, and then smaller percentages attended, their church, or, a large percent, it was over 50% continued to attend their church online. And then smaller percentages were like either completely switched churches by watching online, or they're watching both. They're watching multiple online. And so this last year actually just really accelerated a trend that was already taking place. And so it does feel like we're in a place where, I'm glad that Central says, we're going to do this. We're going to continue to use every resource that we've been given to try to reach people, to try to bring people back, to try to bring people in. And it, like you said, it's not like we're operating on something, using these tools to do something outside of our mission. Our mission is to bring in, to build up, and to send out. And we feel like, doing online church is one of the ways we can do that, Joshua, looking forward, what would you say you're looking forward to? You're seeing, this is what we're going to be working on. This is what we could be. This is what we could be in terms of using this tool to further our mission.
Yeah, the tools are in place for one. So that's that had always been, when we talked about this, years leading up to this, it was always, we don't have the right gear for that.
Mm-hmm.
All that stuff is in place now, and basically just fine tuning things. Maybe be able to add some more camera shots. We've got a few right now. That would be something that could be nice, just to kind of let someone that, if that is their way to attend church that morning, feel more like they are physically with us.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's no substitute for the in-person presence of being together.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's been really cool. We've mentioned people that have joined for the first time because they found the stream on Facebook or YouTube or wherever.
Yeah.
But I think it's been really awesome for members of our church, because of sickness, that have been able to come back to church.
Yeah.
I think of Chuck and Carolyn Sloat. I see their comment like pretty much almost every Sunday that we're joining you. And before the pandemic, long before we even heard about COVID-19, they had not been physically attending Central, but just because of their circumstance. And it's amazing that it's brought that kind of connection. And I think there's so many other really cool things of like my parents live in Texas, and
Yeah.
they've joined us quite a few Sundays. My grandma in Kansas, like my family's kind of all over the place, and for me, it's been really cool to get to have some of that extra community. And so,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't, like I said, the technology is there. There's no reason to not do it at this point.
Yeah.
It's just, one more tool, one more resource for us to bring in, build up, send out believers. And so
I think it's funny too. I mean, you mentioned your family. I mean, your family's watching, right?
I was gonna say, yeah.
My family's watching, and this all happened during pandemic times. My dad passed away, and for the 5 weeks before he died, he was able to be in church with us every week. And so for me, one of the incredible things there is the connection that we were able to make. And so because we had the tools in technology, there were people that were connecting that had not. And I think that's kind of one of what we're seeing kind of as we come out of this is not so much that we're going to win everybody by being this great digital presence.
Yeah.
Because the people that are still connecting with us are already connected with us.
Yeah,
It's just one more way for us to invite people to be a part of the fellowship at Central. And our vision is to reach those who are outside of Christ and outside of fellowship. And so part of what we're seeing is there are a lot of people that we're connected to already who are at least outside of fellowship. They don't have a church home. They've gotten out of the practice, they've gotten out of the habit, and you throw out an invite, or somebody else throws out an invite to a coworker or to somebody on the, on their baseball team or on their soccer field, and hey, you ought to come to our church, you can check it out. And they can watch the service and connect that way beforehand. I've got a friend that I've been inviting, and she finally told me, she said, I've been coming to your church now for about 3 months. And I'm like, I have not seen you there. She's like, okay, I'm going to start posting in the comments. So she has not been able to get to the physical building, but now she is posting in those comments and hey, I'm here. It's good to see everybody, and is developing some community but she was invited not because we have this great marketing plan, but because we're already connected with people and we're doing the same thing, just using another tool to connect people.
I think that's important for just our people to know, is that we don't think of ourselves as we're not a production company. We don't have the best cameras. We don't have the best sound equipment. We really do believe that
best people.
We got the best people. Yeah. Joshua, you're the man. Yeah. But we really believe that this is just going to be another way for our people to continue to do what they're doing, which is inviting those that are outside of Christ and outside of fellowship. So to close, I'm going to ask you guys, what's been a funny or one of your favorite memories from our time during, whether it was initially, during when we were really online church, just online, or just, even the last year, what have been some of your favorite memories, or even maybe some funny memories during online church? And I can start while you guys are thinking. So one of mine would be when we were doing all of our staff meetings on Zoom. We would log in, and every single one of us would have a different background. Jeff, he was always at the mountains.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Tim was always at the beach, and then eventually I just set my background as I was in a house that was burning down. And it was from the meme. There's the guy that says everything is fine, because that's kind of how it felt back in March. Yeah. The house was burning down, but we were just saying everything's fine. But that, and then walking into the worship center and feeling I was a TV preacher on a movie set with my flip-flops on.
Yeah, that meme that says, and just like that, we're all TV preachers.
Yeah, exactly.
About 3 weeks in.
Yeah.
I think there are a couple. Favorite memory is the fact that, like I said, my dad, I'd send him the link and, all right, I'm on, we're watching. And so that connection there was no way he could travel. But he was connected. And so, and what was really cool is that, I love our team. I love everybody. Everybody's got a unique personality, but he would send comments about, hey, your music guy is pretty good musician, you know. And I don't know who that young guy is, but you know, he's pretty sharp. And I'm like, Dad, there's a lot of prep that's gone into this. You know, you're just seeing the finished product. But he was very complimentary, and he was now, you know, connecting. So that was a pretty cool thing. I'm with you. The Zoom meetings, you know, for Braxton's birthday, April 20th.
Oh man.
We all said we're going to sing happy birthday, and you know, there's just enough delay.
Mm-hmm.
I posted it, and it was the absolute worst musical experience that has ever happened.
I think there was like some commercials that came out during that time of like music groups singing together on Zoom, and it was like this beautiful thing.
That was not us.
No,
that's not reality.
That's not real. That's not real.
The other difficult thing is, you know, prior to this, we were really, I don't think we were capturing video, and we were putting, you know, audio and video on our website, but now we're doing lots and lots of video. And so the truth is we get tongue tied or we get twisted up while we're preaching or while we're singing. And there have been a couple of times where, just for posterity, here it is, you know, here is the video of the thing that you said. Yeah. And, you know, and we wind up saying words that we shouldn't say. You know?
I was going to say, all of it is just etched into, you know, the internet now. It's not
permanent.
Yeah. It's like when Joshua records us talking for like a promo video, and then he takes all the bloopers, and my students use those all the time to refer to me and say, yeah, so. Yeah.
And Braxton is, I love it, you know, or Jeff was,
I just love
this,
yeah.
I love that. And
Yeah. I one of my memories that I think I hated at the time, Easter last year, I had made this video that was going to be playing, and the band was going to be playing with the video, and you know, I spent however many hours making this video, and I reset a connection beforehand and didn't realize that I didn't reset that connection. And so the opening to Easter 2020, you know, the big service of the year, but no one's in the building, and you see Sarah and Shonda and all of us just kind of standing, playing. I think they had their backs to the camera. I think Shonda was
watching the video.
Shonda was counting on her fingers for us, and you could kind of see her hand going because we were playing the same chord progression so many times, and she was cueing us, and we think there's a video in front of us.
Oh my!
But everyone can just see us, and it's like probably 2 minutes of the most awkward church service you've ever seen in your life.
That could go on the Instagram page, Worship Fails.
Oh man,
we should.
I think I submitted it to them. Okay. They didn't like it, I guess.
Wow. Well, that's good news.
Yeah, it wasn't.
We're not as bad as we think we are.
We didn't fail near as badly as we felt like we failed.
Or there's like the times where a preacher mic might accidentally get left unmuted.
That's happened a lot to us.
That's less than it could happen, but there's been a few of those.
Yeah. Well, hey, thanks for sitting down and talking through this. We hope that it was a blessing to you guys, so that you guys can, you know, like we talked about on the previous episode, why are we even doing this podcast? We just want to open the door to the conversations that we're already having on a regular basis, whether that's with each other, us on the staff, or with, you know, our members as we, you know, meet with you guys throughout the week. So if you guys like what we're doing, would you like the video, subscribe to us, share it with your friends, just like we talked about. You know, we don't think we're doing anything cutting edge here. We don't think we're a production company, but you know, we think that
there's a strong chance people actually aren't seeing any video right now. I see a blank screen on that camera.
Gosh. Well, our video
that's
cut.
Awesome.
So it looks like,
and there's a good chance that Buddy gets more likes than we do.
That's true.
It's very true.
If there's still video.
There's a good chance that
we'll get all the technology kinks figured out eventually.
But the point is that we, you know, while we don't think you're going to share this because it's cutting edge, we think you're going to share this with people inside our church because that's who this is for, you know?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so until next time, be looking for episode 3. It's gonna drop next month, this coming April. So looking forward to it. Love you guys. We'll see you Sunday.
Church things.
See you then.